It's 10 a.m. We'll go ahead and call our mid-month meeting to order. Welcome everybody out today. It's nice weather outside. Let's all stand for the pledge and followed by invocation. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brother Tim Sanders, please.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all that you do, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for this weekend and the meaning of the season. Thank you, Lord, for giving us guidance and wisdom, peace. Help direct us, help direct the county, help direct everyone here to go forth and do what is best and honorable. We thank you for this time. We praise you, Jesus, in thy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Got to change, two changes on the agenda. We need to, over on the back side of your copy, we need to move the closed session down to right before the county manager and let Rita move up one. And then the generator bids, we need to include that on today's agenda to keep that project moving forward. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion, hear a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor? 5-0. Work session minutes in last month's agenda. I trust everybody's looked over that. If nobody has any problems with it, I'd entertain a motion to accept.
Second.
Got a move and a second right here. Any discussion? All in favor? 5-0. Public comment. Anyone wishing to have anything to say, please come forward. State your name, please.
Good morning. My name is Jason Long, Chief Alleghany Rescue Squad. Just real briefly, I just want to give the county and the public update and the commissioners kind of what we got planned. April the 30th is a Saturday from 10 o'clock to 3 p.m. at Krause Park. You'll probably see the squad, all the emergency agencies in our county, plus surrounding emergency agencies from different counties. We're going to have a community outreach safety day. There will be hands-on CPR training, AED training, stop the bleed training. Medics will be given free blood pressure checks, free glucose checks. There'll be hot dogs, free drinks. Ashe County is going to be bringing their smoke safety trailer over for the kids to play in. We even have fire extinguisher training on how to, for the public's knowledge on how to use fire extinguishers and basic knowledge for the public. So we encourage all the public to try to come to this event. Plenty of stuff for the kids. And that's on April 30th, Saturday from 10 to 3. One other thing I want to bring up to the county commissioners and the public, so there's no big scare. June the 11th, a Saturday, which is a few weeks away, Alleghany Rescue Squad will be holding a mock search up on the parkway. There'll be probably 200 to 300 emergency personnel in the area. So if you see Wilkes, Ashe, Independence, even got some coming from Kentucky. So if you see these, don't panic. It's all in training exercise. So that'll happen on Saturday, June 11th. All I got.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate you guys.
Thank y'all.
Mayor Prince here representing the Solid Rock Food Closet Board. Just wanted to thank the commissioners for the food drive you did. Collected over 457 pounds of food, $300 in cash. That means a lot. Food Closet survives on donations. We never accept any county money, state or federal. So we appreciate, we know this time of the year, working on budgets, it's pretty rough to give up, half a day and come out and do that. Again, thank you for what you did.
Thank you. We appreciate what the food closet does. We was glad to help out. Next, Bobby Irwin.
Bella, come up here a minute. I'm right here. I'd like to introduce my granddaughter. This is Bella Tufo. She's here today to get some extra points for her civics class. If she'll sit through this whole process, I think that'll help her grades. But I just wanted to introduce her to you, let you know why she's here. And this weekend we worked a lot of cattle. She was right there the whole time. Sometimes she was over the fence, but most of the time she was in with the cattle. But we appreciate all the work that she did, and thank you for attending today. And Madam Secretary, if you'll see that her name's in the minutes, that makes it official, so her teacher will give her the credits. Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. Anybody else? Public comment? If not, we'll close that.
Mr. Chairman, I have a point of order.
Okay.
The agenda says that we are voting on the minutes from the work session of 4-4. No mention was made of the minutes for the commissioners' meeting, and I don't have any minutes from a work session. So
Well, I mentioned-
what did we vote on?
I mentioned 4-4 work session and meeting, commission
Alrighty.
meeting.
Where's the minutes for 4-4? Am I missing them? Okay. That's the regular meeting. All right, got them now. Thank you.
Everybody good what motion was?
Got them. Yeah, I found it. I got them.
Ms. April Ham, Finance Officer.
Good morning.
Morning.
I passed out your financial report. I laid it on the desk just before the meeting, so I hope everybody has that. We're not going to have a sales tax report this morning. We have actually just received the sales tax today, so I don't have the breakdown yet, so I will update that at the next meeting. Year-to-date revenue, $16,388,669. Year-to-date expenditures, $13,065,264. And our current approved budget, $17,611,637. Year-to-date revenue represents 93% of our approved budget. Year-to-date expenditures represents 74% of our approved budget, and we're about 79.2% into the year into our budget. Bank balance as of this morning, $16,302,828.72. Bank balance as of 4/19/21, which is the date I gave this report last year, $9,091,486.62. And bank balance as of 4/30/2020, $5,039,795.98. Our net financials, taking year-to-date revenue and expenditures, is $3,323,405. And our audited fund balance as of fiscal year 21, $5,685,551. Can I answer any questions about the financial report this morning?
It's good. I think come a long ways,
Yes, sure has.
long ways, 2 years' time.
While I'm here this morning, I also wanted to inform the board that we are getting ready to put out the RFP for banking services. I got that to the county manager last week and the county attorney. They have both reviewed it, and we'll be getting that posted on the website and some information out to our banking institutions.
Do you have any questions?
Just a great report. Look at 2 years ago, look at last year, how we've improved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Facilities update, Mr. David Spicer, Public Works Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners. We have been working on the courthouse, as you know. That work is almost complete. There has been several coats of mud that was put on the plaster, and the sheetrock work is almost complete, so that'll be taken care of there really soon. In the administration building, of course, we've got renovations going on here for dispatch. That's underway, so that'll be in progress for a little while. We also have some flooring that we will have installed. We're going to order the flooring and be the same on the hallway as it will be in the dispatch, so we've been kind of getting that all lined up. Our transfer facility, we have RFP that has gone out for our temporary tipping floor. That will be back in April the 29th with the bids. So that's due in at the 29th at 3 o'clock. So we'll have that ready to go and taken care of. We have the RFP for the tipping floor almost ready. So that will be going out really soon. Also have a RFP that will be written or is written for the tire trailers to be transported from our facility to the tire recycling center. We have some folks in the county that's interested in that, so we're going to put that out for bid. We have hauled an additional load of cardboard since our last meeting at 2.64 tons. So again, that goes to Green for Life there in North Wilkesboro on Boone Trail. We've hauled an additional 6.11 tons of scrap metal, which brought in $1,505.90 to the county. So we're still on track and doing well with that. The prices of metal went up just a little bit, so that's helping there. 90 South Main, the studies are being done there. Michael may have some more on that here shortly, but that's a work in progress, and we'll be keeping you apprised of our progress there and what's going to happen and what's going on with that. At the Fairgrounds, we're doing some repairs in the concession stand, some things that was brought up by our health inspector, so we should have those done way before the first event. So those things is in progress. We're working on having the driveway out there, some additional gravel placed on that, so that it's a lot better and a lot more user friendly. I also have an update as far as the fire hydrant at the fire training grounds. I've been in discussions this morning with the town, and they have had some projects that they had to get completed. But as of right now, later on this week or next week, that fire hydrant should be installed. So we will have an update on that, and I'll keep you apprised of what goes on there and all of the happenings with that. Other facilities we have is in pretty good shape, so really nothing big on any of those. Animal control, we've had 6 wellness checks. We've had 3 animals picked up. We've had 2 at-large dogs. We've had 1 dog bite. We've had 3 cruelty cases. We've got 1 that had been quarantined as a result of the bite. We've had 1 trap put out, which yielded no animals. We had 1 call on dangerous dogs. There was two dogs at the church over here on Grandview there at Cornerstone. We've got to go back to Flint Hill tomorrow on one of the cases that we're working. So we've had a total of 18 calls, and this has yielded a total of 54 man-hours. Dog bites, the cruelty cases, and some of the cruelty cases is still going on. Those investigations, we haven't made any fines or charges on that yet, but they're probably coming. So again, we've had 1 fine. The fine was paid, and everything's good on that. But this time around, we're looking at probably some charges on abuse of animals and maybe some animal cruelty. We're still working on the investigations on that, and with the Sheriff's Department. So, any questions that I can answer for y'all?
How many workers are you short right now?
I'm short one, a total of one person right now, as far as full-time people.
What is our main problem? Is it pay scale?
Yes.
How long's that position been open, please?
It'll almost be 2 months.
2 months, and this is a continuing problem, just for, to educate the public. We also have problems with EMS. EMS had one individual hired, but they stopped off in Surrey County on the way and found out that they had a signing bonus and was paying $5,000 more beginning than Alleghany County. It's a continuing problem with, we had one person hired at the health department to do septic tank permits. With what we pay, they couldn't find housing here that they could afford. So it's a continuing problem that the county manager is running into, and it's through all departments. Now, with your animal control calls that they're beginning to pick up, are you able, with this loss of personnel, are you being stretched?
Yes, sir, we sure are.
I also understand that we have a requirement that we cannot pick up animals unless we have a climate-controlled vehicle now.
That's coming. It's not a rule as of yet. The rule now is that they do have to have air that moves across the animals to make sure that their comfort is in consideration, and the climate control of heating, air conditioning is in progress of being approved, and I expect that to be real soon.
You don't expect that the state of North Carolina is going to provide funding for that either, do you?
I don't foresee that, no.
That's why my pointing out that the state of North Carolina seems to be constantly placing requirements on the county that they do not provide funding for.
Sir.
Thank you for everything that you're doing, David. Please convey to your staff we appreciate their efforts with the reduction in personnel. I know they have to work that much harder. It's not a job that it's a necessary job, and it's one that's got to happen, but it's not held up too daggone high, and hopefully one of these days maybe we'll strike oil in Alleghany County and start getting some money coming in on that and pay them a competitive wage. Thank you again.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you guys. Going down to general business, we're going to start off with our amendment to generator bids. And turn it over to Mr. Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe Daniel has
Excuse
the
me.
information.
Mr. Roden.
Morning.
Good morning.
As was mentioned, we opened the bids for the generator that's going to be the backup power source for this building this morning at 9 o'clock. We received 3 bids, the lowest of which, do you guys have the bids in front of you? I'm not sure if you do. The lowest bid by Warden Enterprises out of Yadkinville for the total amount of $156,575. I'd like to make or ask for you folks to accept that bid contingent upon the fact that, contingent upon him providing us the actual paperwork for his performance bond. He's got it in here in his quote for performance bond, but he didn't actually provide me with the paper. So I'd just like to make that notation.
Make a motion that we accept the bid contingent upon the requested documents, Mr. Chair.
Got a motion, Dave. Here a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. No discussion? Vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just for clarification, I think you guys are all aware that part of the funding for that project is part of that SCIF grant that we received. And so another portion of that is also 911 eligible money. So once we get down in the weeds, we'll figure out exactly how all those are going to work out. But it's a good thing for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. This from the old jail cell, Commissioner John Irwin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For those that are not aware of what we're speaking about, we have an old jail cell. We do not know if it is the original jail cell from the original jail in Alleghany County, dating back to 1859, but this one is definitely old. The cell has been knocked around, drug around, and basically has seen some usage in the county. It was discovered over at, I believe, a transfer station, and we moved it to the sheriff's department because the sheriff considered it as his property. Who's going to argue with the man that runs the jail? He has refurbished the jail cell, as I understand, and it is in pretty good shape. Now, in the past, particularly, I will refer you to the centennial of 1959. That jail cell was on the courthouse lawn, where luminaries in the county would suddenly find themselves arrested and have to be bailed out. It's been used as a fundraiser through the years where people would come up and you would find yourself inside the jail for no reason other than to get some money. The sheriff has agreed that he will transfer that jail cell to the county contingent upon its placement on the courthouse lawn and an ordinance or some manner in which we can stipulate that it is a historic artifact so that it cannot be moved willy-nilly. Now, in support of that, if we agree to place it on the courthouse lawn, and I would suggest the courthouse committee get together and look at the two locations that the sheriff suggests. The sheriff has requested funds from the TDA, Tourist Development Authority, to do a concrete pad at the location agreed upon, and possibly a cover so that if it starts raining, whenever one of us finds ourselves incarcerated in a fundraising event, we won't get too wet. So basically what we're looking at right now is two facets. A document designating the jail as a historical artifact of Alleghany County and cannot be moved without the commissioner's approval. And upon that selection of the permanent location, the sheriff will transfer that jail cell to us. We'll move it on there once the pad is done, and we will have a jail cell out front. Maybe sometime in the future, if we could find one of our local manufacturers, we might even find a non-working still.
Want to put that in the motion?
I will make that motion that that we accept the jail cell contingent upon the TDA funding for the pad and selection of location, sir.
Got a question.
Okay, go ahead, Bobby. Got a motion on the floor. Go ahead.
The old courthouse is a historic landmark. I think we'd have to check and see if that fits into being part of the approval by the federal or the state government, whoever pushes this historic landmark qualifications. We've run into several problems just trying to put a roof on the old courthouse. I don't know if we have to get permission from the state or not, but I think before we make any kind of vote, we need to be sure that it can be legally put there to meet those qualifications. And I think you might be referring to the courthouse committee maybe looking into that. So with that in question, I don't know if this needs to be tabled at this time until we find out all the legal ramifications. And I would assume our league general counsel could check on that in maybe the next month or whatever time period it takes. That's my only concern. I like John. I remember when people were during their centennial, if you didn't have a beard, you were locked up and put in jail, and it might cost you $25 or $50 to get out of that jail. But I just want to be sure with this historic landmark, with all those qualifications that come with it, that we're doing the legal and proper thing.
Well, that's a good question.
I'll make a motion to table until the
We'll need to do.
mid-month of May.
Withdraw your motion.
I withdraw my motion and make a motion that we table until the mid-May meeting to give the learned attorney an opportunity to answer the questions.
A motion to table till May. Bobby seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5. Excuse me, go ahead.
I just want to point out that we went up and looked at the sale, was it last week? And it is going to require some efforts to refurbish it. It needs some straightening, it needs some brushing, it needs some work done to it.
Mr. Chairman, just in that regard, the sheriff, if we agreed to this, the sheriff stipulated that he will have inmates do all the work that they're capable of doing.
And just Sharon, just so everyone knows.
Right now, we're in limbo until we figure it out.
It may need some legs supplied to it, because as I understand it, it was cut off. The feet were cut off of it, which made it a little shorter, I think, than what it once may have been. So there's some work to be done on that. And the only thing I would point out is also the location, and we'll talk about it in committee. Just we need to keep in mind that there will be a significant amount of construction that will go on at that courthouse in the next year to 2 years also. So location will be an important component of this.
A motion on the floor. Motion on the floor, and we get a second. And a vote. 5-0, okay.
Table.
Table and May. Good deal. Put on down Recreation Committee recap. Commissioner Bobby Irvin.
On April the 7th, 2022 at 4 o'clock, the Alleghany County Recreation Committee held a meeting. Bobby Irwin was present, Michelle Luffman, Michael Carter, Cole Edwards, and Drew Todd were present. First item of business was discussion regarding the current PARTF agreement at the Duncan Recreation property. The committee agreed to have Heather Klein draft a letter to the North Carolina PARTF, and I think she's going to be working on that pretty soon. We'll be in contact with her about some of the qualifications and some of the restrictions that came with the Duncan pool. The next item introduced was by me, and it was talking about paving at the fairgrounds. County Manager Michael Carter said maintaining control of water and runoff are considerations when talking about paving. He said there are a lot of ways to improve the Black Building. Recreation Director Cole Edwards said he had the idea to create mountain bike trails on the mountain at the fairgrounds. Commissioner Bobby Irwin said he looks for the Beamer money to be spent serving the biggest number of population in the county. County Manager Michael Carter brought up ADA compliance around the Black Building because of the CCOP naming it as the third courthouse facility for this county if something happens to the old courthouse and if something happens to the new Dalton Annex. Cole said he would like to ask the public what they want for recreation and if feasible, then spend the money. Commissioner Luffman suggested getting a committee of citizens together as a listening committee to come up with ideas for the Beamer money. County Manager Michael Carter asked the commissioners present to think about having the board establish a committee and put a form online to have citizens submit their interest in being on the committee. Commissioner Luffman talked about raised garden beds as a community event for older people who may not be able to swim. Commissioner Bobby Irwin said that the Wellness Center needs to participate in the committee. And with that, that was our basic meeting. It ran for about an hour, and I think Cole had some very good ideas. One of the main thing about the Beamer money, I think the committee in general agrees that it needs to be spent in ways that it benefits the most people in the county. And back to the recreation, or back to the swimming pool, that there was a lot of rules and regulations when that project was formed roughly 50 years ago, I guess. And that'll be up to Heather Klein to, I guess, go through all these rules that the state has put on that adoption when we got the money for the pool. And Michelle, do you have anything to add? Cole's here. Do you have anything to add, Cole? And Michael and Drew. So that concludes the report for the Recreation Committee. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Bobby. That's a good recap on the Recreation Committee. Moving on down, Chris Miller, IT Director.
Morning. In February of this year, the National Guard came and did a security audit of the network and the admin building itself. You have that in your board packet. And I want to start on page 8 of that report. I don't know if y'all looked at it, but there's a lot of red in that report. I can say that a lot of that red is now green. It either is green now or we're working on it. On page 8 there, for culture, I have been given those resources that they're asking for, and I've also signed up for several email alerts for security breaches and security alerts and various things there, so I'm getting about 20 of those a day. So I'm definitely getting alerts for that. On page 9, I have been given I printed out the 80-page document for those guidelines and benchmarks, and I've been looking through that and trying to. So I am aware of that and have access to that now. Inventory control and hardware assets. For hardware, the firewall checks in with things that are out of the network, and it keeps the listing of what's online. And also, I have a network scan tool that I use and run occasionally to make sure that things are that nothing weird's on the network. Software assets, we're working on that, getting a tool. I've got a couple of places that have a tool, and I'm looking at those and evaluating those. On page 10, and again, working on that. Devices not managed by IT or allowing the network that's being blocked by the firewall and the new Wi-Fi. I can change the password on that at will on both the guest and the main network. And I can also block devices by MAC address on the Wi-Fi. Maintenance, monitoring, and analysis of audit logs are all handled by the firewall now, and also internal and external network intrusion detection are all handled by the firewall on pages, the bottom of page 10, top of page 11. Local incident handling is a policy that we'll need to create, and I'm working on that with Michael and Drew and John. On page the continuity operations plan on page 11 and 12. Basically, this will all be handled by the cloud backup that I've requested budget for the next year to give us cloud recovery of our server data. And also, we do have UPSs now on all the switches and firewalls and at the jail and here and at DSS. Training, that's policy that we're working on. This morning I've been looking at several other county policies on IT and tried to read through those and see what needs to be in there and develop one of my own. Change management board. We have created that between Michael Carter, Drew Todd, John Irwin, and myself. On page 14, we're working on the policy there for the vulnerability management program. And we're also working on getting a more unified patch management system working, and also we're getting some quotes for a countywide antivirus solution, so departments aren't paying for their own different between departments, and again, all that about unified. Let's see here. We're working on the agency critical information list for that. Any questions on that?
Well, just a comment, Mr. Chairman. One of the things, if you'll go to page 13, we should have a Chartered Configuration Change Control Board, CCB. That is a board that needs to be formed. I had to request whenever the county manager and Chris and the assistant county manager went over this, they asked me to be there. But it was not in a formal process. This is something that is going to become very critical, especially right now. We are waiting for a cyber attack from the Soviet Union in response to the United States supplying aid to Ukraine. This board is going to be critical to make sure that we are safeguarded. Now, I don't think that the Soviet Union is going to come after little old bitty Alleghany County, but we are wide open. As a matter of fact, whenever we put in the new system, the firewalls went up. We were being attacked. Please correct me if I'm wrong. We were being attacked so strongly that our firewall shut down and rebooted. But prior to the new system, we were wide open. This is just an example. So this board is critical, should be formed with regular meetings, and I would certainly sit on that based on my background as a communications chief, what I've faced in the Marine Corps. But right now it doesn't exist. We need to formally format, I would suggest that IT, county manager, and one commissioner be placed on that board. Did I misspeak?
No.
Will need to take place at the next meeting back on the agenda. Go ahead, Chris.
I'm good, that's all.
Conclude
That's all I
your
got.
report. Anybody?
As we went over this, I'm just going to give you a general assessment. A lot of this has been taken care of with the new system. As I said, prior to the new system coming in, we had no firewalls. We were wide open. You could sit in the parking lot, and if you guessed the password, you could get into the county system. You had access to everything. These were identified prior to the system going in with our new firewalls, with the battery backups, the universal power supplies, and things of this nature. Mr. Miller has done an outstanding job, but there's a tremendous amount of work that remains to be done because we're starting off from ground zero. He's come in, he's taken it by the bull by the horns. A lot of this should be green right now. It was identified prior to this. We had another security assessment done by the state of North Carolina in the sheriff's department. This was identified. I gave him a copy of that. He jumped right on it, just like stink on garbage. Do an outstanding job. And I'd like to thank you for that, Chris. You don't walk on water. Not yet. But you're getting there.
What else? Chris, we appreciate your job, buddy. Good report. Let's set the public hearing date. County Manager, Mr. Carter.
Chairman, members of the board, I'm happy to say that with the help of the Budget Committee, that we have a budget that is balanced, that will be presented to each of you later this week. In anticipation of that, would ask the board to consider setting the public hearing for the budget at your May, I believe it's the 2nd, meeting at 6:30. What our plan is probably by midweek to the latter part of the week, we will provide each department and agency that made a request a copy of what we have included in the draft budget proposal. They will have the opportunity to review that. You as a board will have the opportunity to review that, have your public hearing, take comments, take notes. Budget Committee will reconvene after that hearing to address any concerns that may exist. And if all goes accordingly, have the budget considered at the mid-month May meeting, but if something were to happen to that, that could go into the latter part of the month. But overall, the plan is to get the budget presented, considered, ultimately adopted prior to June so that we're not in that last-minute crunch type scenario. So I would ask that you consider setting that public hearing date and time accordingly.
2nd of May?
So that's a regular meeting,
Yes, sir.
Monday,
Yes, sir.
which would normally take place, commence at 6.
Yes, sir.
So were we talking of going ahead and open our regular meeting at 6?
Yes.
And then at 6:30, going
would.
into the?
That's correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
Works for me.
The only question I have is approval mid-month meeting. Have we ever figured out how we're going to get around SB 473?
The options that, excuse me, we talked about before, which was recusal from any board that you're on. That's the cleanest and easiest way to handle this at this point. I don't know if that's the best option and everybody wants to consider that. Additionally, we can contract with each nonprofit that we give money to out of our budget so that then you will be out of that process in regards to funding them, because it's a contract that's separate, so you can recuse yourself from that.
Time for a contract.
I don't know how many nonprofits that we're talking about, so I'm not sure how many are actually in the budget.
On the recusal, excuse me for interrupting you, but under the recusal, would we be going through special funding, or what I like, line by line?
Well, that's our last option, which would be that we don't make any appropriations for any of the nonprofits, and they would just be in the general fund, and then there would be separate line item appropriations after the fact that could be made, and you would recuse yourself from that vote. Those are the three options that we have in order to avoid having any issues at this point, because in the short session, I don't think that anything has been resolved in regards to this, this bill, so we're.
So we'd have to go line by line, and as an example, whenever we get to the budget for Council on Aging, I sit on that board, I'd have to recluse myself.
Well, and then obviously the issue though is that if you then vote on the overall budget, then you are still, there's still a conflict, because not only you're just removing yourself from that one vote, but then you have to vote on the overall. So I don't think that that is an option in and of itself, because you're still voting and it still could be considered a conflict.
So our solutions do like Raleigh used to do, just operate without one. 2 or 3 years, so.
But also.
But if we don't pass a budget, then we revert to last year's budget.
But could you not,
They done that though.
could you not consider, if it comes down to it, could you not consider the general fund budget minus the special appropriations, adopt as such, and then go line by line, not to directly impact it?
I've not asked that question directly from the School of Government. I've gotten some general information about questions that we've had, that we've discussed previously. And that's a little bit more detailed, and I can certainly go back and ask. I have a direct contact for that, to be sure that that wouldn't be an issue. But unfortunately, we're very limited right now because we didn't get an exemption for the size county that we have, which obviously was meant, but then never put into that, that bill, so, or that legislation. So we're kind of stuck with very few options on how to handle that.
I would just hate to see the entire budget be delayed because of, and I'm just throwing numbers out, 25 or 30 special appropriations. If there's a way to consider, if it comes to it, to consider the remainder of the budget, and then upon whatever direction is appropriate for those special appropriations, then we don't have to operate without one or go off of last year's because we have an operational budget in place.
So that's a question I'll pose to the School of Government, and we'll see what we can figure out. You know, like I said, and unfortunately, we are very limited with our abilities at this point, so maybe a more direct question on how we can avoid this might not be a bad way to go.
I don't see where we would be in violation if, you know, just general vote on, after we've gone through the special appropriations. If we do not participate on the ones that, of the boards that we sit on, the decision is made by the remainder of the board members. That determines the amount, and then we just put it in the budget, we vote on the budget, but we haven't participated in that, you know, where we would be in conflict. And just to let the public know, this is a, SB 473 is a law that went into effect on January the 1st, where it is a Class H felony for a commissioner to vote or vote on an appropriation to a board that he sits on. So they did not exempt small counties, small municipalities, things of this nature. And I'm too good looking to go to jail. If you believe that, I've got some shoreline to say on New River. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Everybody's hanging their head. I don't think we want to get into it any further, so.
We got a motion to accept the 2nd of May.
What's the motion? I want to see it.
Public hearing for
hearing.
2nd of May.
Public hearing.
Somebody made a motion.
Okay.
I will, if that's what you need.
Got a motion and a second for the May the 2nd at 6:30 for the public hearing. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? 5-0. Okay, moving on, Public Works line item transfer, Ms. April Ham.
Have one line item transfer this morning for the Public Works Department. We need to cover some propane heating costs at the Wilkes Community College, BDC, and Library Facility Complex, requesting to transfer $6,000 out of maintenance and repairs to that line to cover those, and the money is available.
Okay,
So moved, Mr. Chair.
got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not all in favor? 5-0.
The next thing I have is the ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act Grant Project Ordinance. This is something that we need to get in place. Per consensus of the board the last time that you met, we are going to take that standard revenue loss election, that option for us. I did a class last Monday with UNC School of Government. I'd just like to quote a couple of things that was said. Taking the standard allowance election, there is no downside for small counties and small municipalities. No downside at all. Using ARPA funds on salaries and benefits and then reallocating for other uses is a positive for us smaller counties and municipalities. So I just wanted to give you that information. This is not something that we would normally do, claim salary and benefits and then turn around, put money in our general fund and use it for general government services. But U.S. Treasury is overriding that for smaller counties and municipalities. So can I answer any questions about the ordinance that we're going to put in place?
Questions?
So moved.
Motion here, a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Not all in favor? 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to add that the comments about Chris Miller, we do think he walks on water. That's been an absolute great addition to our staff, having an IT person just for general questions about email and things that just stop us in the middle of the day. He is an absolute great addition. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, he's not here to hear it, but
Okay, next up, Mr. Cole Edmonds, Recreation Director.
Morning. In your package, you have a contract to accept grant funding from App Health. What this is for is going to be to purchase a couple basketball goals for Sam Brown Park, where they are basically no longer existent or usable. It's also going to be used to purchase 4 soccer goals, additional disc golf baskets to provide alternate pin locations for certain holes, 4 park trash cans, and 3 park benches. This also helps with budget next year, or with my proposed budget anyway. So I'd be happy to answer any questions best I can. I just need a motion to accept.
A motion?
Make a motion.
second.
Motion second by John, motion by Bobby. Any discussion? Not all in favor? 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on the back side of her, We're going to switch around on our agenda and let Rita come ahead with her portion here.
Morning.
Morning.
So have your consent agenda for the tax office refunds and everything this morning. I did not have the license plate agency information available when I printed this, so I will give that to you. There were 2,132 transactions. We did have 2 stickers that were damaged. We were charged $77.50. The auditor will refund us that when she comes and does the audits and gets the 2 damaged stickers, so we will get that refunded. Our compensation for last month was $5,108.77. And if anyone has any questions on any of the refunds or releases, I'll be glad to answer.
Entertain a motion.
Okay.
Okay. No questions. Entertain a motion.
Move.
Motion here, second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Not all in favor? 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. At this time, we got a request for closed session, General Statute 143-31-.11.A/3. Consultant attorney and expansion of industry or other business.
For the item identified, number 4, to discuss location, et cetera, I would ask the board include Mr. David Woody for that discussion only.
I make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Got a motion here, second.
Second.
This motion second, any discussion? Not all in favor? Call our regular meeting back in session. Next on the agenda is the county manager's comments. No action taken in closed session. We'll move on to the county manager's comments.
Members of the board, on pages 41 through 46 of your packet, you will see some meeting notes with R&D Architects. That occurred with Todd, David Spicer, and myself. Basically, it demonstrates what the preliminary design sketches externally look like. They're talking about adding a canopy. They've got a site plan that they're working on. It's just basically the initial steps that they're going through for the demo and, I guess, reconstruction of the entrance to 90 South Main. At this point, that's what it entails and what it looks like. I also want to say that sometime this week, it was going to occur today. I haven't looked outside, but I assume it may be still doing what it was doing earlier. Survey team was going to be here today, but that may have been postponed, so should be good to go on that as well. The other couple of comments, very briefly, we talked about having a courthouse committee meeting a little earlier on the agenda. I think that's both Commissioner Bobby and John Irwin. So if you could look at your schedules, what day would work for that meeting?
Would week of May the 9th work for John?
I would have to see my master schedule, but I don't recall anything.
That work for Drew and Michael?
Could we set a time?
I think May the 6th. I think I communicated at one meeting about the availability of the judges. May the 6th, I believe, was that day meeting.
I mean, if need be, John could handle it because we may be in surgery that week.
If we can get, really what we're waiting on right now is a date. If we can get a date with the judges, they're the ones that are inflexible. They're just about dictating when we're going to meet.
I mean, I think that we can, that's a separate meeting. I mean, that may end up being a separate meeting because
Okay.
if
But after that meeting, we could quickly, after we've had our meeting with the judges, then we can discuss where we would put this.
but I don't think Bobby will be here that week.
Right.
Is what
But he said that we could proceed without him there. You've got a problem with that?
If it comes to that point, I mean, we've waited on these judges for a numerous amount of weeks to make a decision. I don't know if they can move it to any day during the week of the 9th.
don't know that either.
Now, if
We could kill
check,
two birds with
Drew
one
check
stone,
with-
it would be good, because we're gonna, the architects that are looking at this, we're wanting the input from them.
They are coming
hold it
up. They are coming up in May to do field work. They're coming up, so it's going to happen. Why don't we just reach out and confirm that availability, and if that works, then we'll meet accordingly.
And that's a plan.
Sounds like winter.
And that's actually, I think, my daughter has left. Is she still around?
No, she hightailed it out of here.
I want to recognize her again for being here, but
Thank you.
And the last thing I want to say is, we've had different employees stand at that podium for different meetings, and I want to brag on our staff. I think we've got a really good group of people that is working here and performing their duties and professional in their manner, and I just want to recognize them. I know that, we recognize certain ones at certain times for certain things, but as a whole, I want to recognize them all because I'm really proud of this group. So, thank you.
Okay, moving on down, County.
Could I ask a question of Michael?
Yes, sir.
Back to 90 South Main Street, is there consideration for a flagpole to be put out in front or on the building, or?
It hasn't been discussed, but that shouldn't be any issue whatsoever. We'll have enough space with the tearing down of the front section that should allow for any configuration at that point.
Well, if we can incorporate it, they tend to get pretty expensive after a while, a good flagpole.
Good idea.
Okay, moving on down to commissioner comments. Michelle, who's first?
Being part of the Recreation Committee, I just want to let the citizens know that we have a great recreation director, and he's very interested in getting lots of recreation going for the young and the old. So, we hear that everyone wants a pool all the time. So we're working on that. We're talking about getting a committee together to listen to the citizens' needs and wants. We have, soccer going on. We have Little League coming up this summer. So I just want everyone to know that we're, Bobby's on that committee too, and we're actively working on that, and we have a very good recreation director. Thank everyone for the food drive, for what you gave. It was so cold that day, but people were still giving, and we really appreciate it. We had sunshine, we had snow, we had wind, rain, we had a wreck. But anyway, hopefully we'll do another one, and it'll be a little bit warmer. And I want to thank all the folks who came out and picked up trash. The county looks really good right now. So,
Thank you, Commissioner.
One of the things I'd like to do, now that we've come to the end of the budget process, or we can at least see the end of it, I sat in on part of the budget committee discussions, but Michael and your staff have done an amazing job. It is particularly hard whenever we start looking at what's going on right now with inflation, possible recession coming up, although I don't know if a recession would hurt Alleghany County or not. We're pretty well in a recession full time anyway. But the truth teller is that budget. We're a poor county. The Winston-Salem Police Department's budget is twice to 3 times Allegany's entire budget. So that tells you basically where we are. It's hard. It's been very thorough from what I've seen. You have taken the staff that had never been allowed to do a budget, and you've placed them there where they are beginning to see really what goes with the budget. So I can't praise you and the staff as much as you should be. Now, having said that, I want to look you in the face. It's an election year. And as you know, and if you've heard, people have come up and they have told you that if the 2 commissioners that I have recruited to run are elected, you are out the door. Well, I'm telling you in your face, in front of the public, that is a lie. It is a damn lie, because the two people that I recruited, I have asked them what they think of you and your performance. They think you walk on water. The difference is, I know you do. You're the greatest thing since crunchy peanut butter that has happened to this county. As far as I'm concerned, if I'm around whenever you say you're ready to retire, I'm going to chain you to your desk. You are not in danger, my friend. So, one of the good things that we learned today is we're actually looking at the fire hydrant. This precedes Michael Carter. Just to let the public know what's going on, for 10 years, we had fire hydrants at the fairgrounds that were in the ground, but they had never hooked them to the water line. We got them hooked to the water line, and the fire hydrant didn't work. That was 2.5 to 3 years ago that it was pulled out of the ground. Now we have progress where we may be able to get the fire hydrant at the training facility put back in the ground so that the fire departments do not have to drive into town to fill their tanks whenever they're doing training at the fairgrounds, at the fire training facility. Now, the real bad part about this is the town going to put a water meter on it so that they can charge the fire departments whenever they are training there in the fire training facility? But that will be something we'll see in the future. But maybe we will get a fire hydrant in the ground after 3 years. People say government moves slow. This is a glacier process. I want to end with one thing. Last year we had 2 million illegal immigrants come into this nation. Right now we are on the track to exceed that. And I heard a figure the other night that sent chills down my spine. At the end of the current administration, if illegal immigration continues at the pace that we are on, 20% of the population of the United States of America will be here illegally. Last week, they picked up 5 people that are on the terrorist watch list. Ukrainians are beginning to come through our southern border now because it is easier to cross illegally than it is legally. In the last year, they have picked up people from 130 countries coming across the southern border. Now, if you don't know what 20% illegal population means, the legal population in the United States right now is around 320 million legal Americans. That will be 64 million people that do not know our language, do not know our culture, do not know our governmental process in this nation, and they are going to be sucking at the teat of the government because they can't make a living. If you go to Phoenix, Arizona, construction workers are gone as far as legal American construction workers. The illegals have come in and they have taken over. In California, they are protected by the state government. We are gutting our economy. And if you think it doesn't affect us, well, I'm sitting in the parking lot last week, and I had 12 Hispanics walk by speaking Spanish with nothing to do at midday. This is going to be a process that we are going to have to face, and I'm afraid that it's going to become critical very, very quickly. It upsets me, mainly because in my travels in 27 different countries, their immigration process is much different than ours. Try and immigrate into Mexico. Look at the process. You will not become an immigrant and receive citizenship in Japan unless the diocese votes it. It takes a law for you to become a citizen of Japan. And we've just thrown ourselves on the ash heap of history. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. It is time for votes. Start looking at the candidates and make sure that you check on everything that you hear out there, because some of it could be election year hyperpole.
Thank you. Mark.
I have nothing.
Bobby.
Mine's extremely brief. There again, what Michael had said, and Michelle, the staff for the county government, they're responsible for making this budget what it has been over the last 2 or 3 years now, that the state has gotten off of our back. Our fund balance was down to a little over 11%. Now we're up in the high 20s, and that's obviously, you have to have a leader when you go through these things, and our leader was Michael. But everybody in the county government had to buy into that philosophy of what the budget was being, how it was being formulated. And being fortunate enough to sit on the finance committee for the last 2 years, I can see how all these departments and some of these outside agencies finally understood the stress, the financial burden that the county was under, and all of them, our finance department, every agency in this county, transfer facility, recreation, all of us came together and have formulated for the last 2 years a great budget. And I'd like to thank the employees, for buying into that. Without them, it couldn't be done. And I think this year's, just so far, the Finance Committee itself, we're just a shade under 100 hours that we've spent. That's 2.5 solid weeks. And it takes time. And people that want to run to be a commissioner have to understand they've got to be willing to spend the time. It's not like it was 15 or 20 years ago where you came in with one sheet of paper and meetings lasted 30 or 40 minutes. It's not unusual for us to have 2 or 3 hour meetings, even longer. So I just want to thank all the employees and the people of the county. They also bought into the budget process. They know that we had financial difficulties, and now I have the pleasure of seeing the state treasurer usually once a month, and he continues to brag on Alleghany County how fast we came back out of the doldrums that we were in. So that's all I've got.
Thank you, Bobby. I just want to expand on our budget a little bit too. It's been a grueling process, to say the least, and I've been on that committee for 3 years now, and I'm very, very tickled and very happy about our budget. Our fund balance in 2020 was 11.2. 2021 it went 17.2 or 3, and last year, this current year, it went to 27. And that is a great stride in 2 years' time to put that much money back into our fund balance, and I'm very proud of that. And I hope we all commit to sticking with that fund balance and increasing it a little more as we come into future years. And we did get counting up the other day. We just finished up our budget last Wednesday about 12 o'clock, as I remember, and we was all just talking. We got about 84 hours apiece, and 5 of us. And that relates to 420 hours total for the 5 people on the budget, and that's myself and Bobby and Michael and Drew and April, finance officer, and that is a commitment, like Bobby talked about. That's a lot of time. We met a lot of days all day long. But it come together with a good budget, and we've made good pride, and I'm proud of our county employees, because in 2020, they came to the room committee meeting wanting to help. And they done a fine job, and like Bobby says too, we was led by Michael Carter, because that's the first time, to my knowledge, there'd ever been a budget committee set up in the county. I think it's all been done prior years by commissioners. Nothing wrong with that. But this was a whole new turn in a way of going over each department's budgets, because we looked at every line, very detailed. But I just want to thank everybody, and I'm proud of that, and to add one more thing, there's no property tax increase in the budget this year, no fire tax increase in the budget this year, and I think that's a great accomplishment with the way inflation and everything's been going. I'm real proud of our budget committee. And the canned food drive is, as Larry Prince, 457 pounds, $300 in cash donations. That was a great day at cold weather, but a lot of warm hearts out there that day, and had a lot of good conversations with people. And the trash pickup, that is a huge success for Alleghany County. To see that many people out walking down the road picking up trash, and we should all, every citizen should try and strive harder to do a better job on keeping trash. And that's all I have. Drew? And a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Got a motion here, a second. Thank y'all. Good meeting.